Hey everybody, it is December 1916, Central Powers' turn, and the German forces have thrown some reinforcements along the river right here. You can see them, they're being ready to get dug in along the river there. They advanced into the wood lines over here by the swamp, and pretty much from the Baltic Sea all the way down here to the mountains. Down here, it is one solid line of infantry now, blocking the line. So one continuous line dug in, except for that little area right there, which is newly moved, so they'll probably dig in next turn. So it's going to be a little hard for the Russians to crack this line anytime soon. It's basically tables have turned. Actually, what I need to do is every one of these ones right here needs to be a 2. So I got to change all that because they dug in. Now over here, instead of attacking, assess the situation. At the moment, this German unit was in supply. Could get a supply line to here. It was sitting here and it moved up. It's still in supply, so it's not degraded any. It's like counting on either being totally cut off and then force them to attack them and force them to do something to take them out. So they're just trying to advance back towards the German border, get back on the line. Right now we have the Italians of creating a roadblock toward Vienna, because if Vienna falls, the Austrians are out of the war. So it's up to the Italians at the moment to be the speed bump against the British forces that are moving up through the guts right here of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Now over here, there's no attacking going on. The Germans did throw some troops, reinforcements. They're slowly moving troops back into the frontier over here. At the moment, they have no way to defend France. It's kind of like, well, we already took them out of the war, so go ahead, spend some time trying to take all those cities back. So it's kind of like a delaying action, forcing them to do something about it. So that is the entire Central Powers turn. Nothing really exciting in December, but we'll see what the Allies do. All right, be back. Hey everybody, it is December 1916. Merry Christmas. And it's the Allied powers' turn. The Russians are on the offensive. They attacked on the salient right here across the river. And the end result was they lost the entire army group in the process, but they did take the hex. So they have crossed the river right here. They did an attack. There was a German group that was here. They had an attack that went across, took them out, and they lost some, I think it was some artillery and a couple corps themselves, but they did take out the Germans that were parked there. So they had 2 attacks, one here and one there, that were both successful, but they did take casualties in the process. They did nothing over here, but they did run their cav down the road down here, down this rail line right here. Looks like they're maybe trying to come around in the backside over here. Coming around. That's what they're trying to do. And over here, the British are flying down the rail line right here. The cav is shooting down this rail line right here, cutting off more supply. So they basically have this army group right here that's out of supply now. They'll be supplying -1 because their nearest supply line for them is way up there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 6 away. And the most I think they can get, depending on the weather, is to about right here. So not good for them. And then they're moving up. Looks like they're getting closer to getting to Vienna. There may be a battle next turn. And then over here, all they did was the Greeks have reached the end of their line. Now they've said that's how farther we're going to go. They can't advance any farther. The Romanians are pretty much they probably, I think, are going to probably occupy Budapest, and I think that's how far that they can advance too, because I think this line right here is about as close as they can get themselves. You know, there's restrictions on how far countries can go outside their own borders. It's kind of like they have limited warfare. You know, it's kind of like personal interests in their local zone, but they don't want to go any farther due to supply constraints and stuff like that. And over here, since early in the war, not since August of 1914, has Brussels been in the hands of the Allies. But the Americans smashed in there, into Brussels. Right here, they did take Brussels. So Belgium is slowly going back into the hands of the Allies again. Antwerp is right there. Right at the moment, they kind of cut off. So they do have supply line from right here. So they are in supply at the moment. And then also over here, you got American units are flying down the rail lines, resupplying themselves. And yeah. Now that brings up the interesting question here. I think I've stated this before, but we have, these are not belligerent country cities, because they used to be allies. We took them, so they don't have to be garrisoned. According to the rules, they don't need to garrison them. But do they supply as equivalent of allowing supply lines and stuff? Because if that is the case, the Americans can rely on Paris, Lille, and then all these other small little towns is part of their supply network, so they are no longer reliant on sea power to take care of their supply. So right now it's like all the units here are being supplied by sea, and then I can only ferry over a certain number. As you can see, there's a massive stack of troops stacking up over there, because I can only bring over a certain number into France, and then I can only have 18 American divisions in France, because I can supply 36, but I have to use some of the sea power to move the units over, and then that kind of limits what you can bring over. So yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 at the moment. So there we go. That is pretty much everything that's happening in the Allied powers' turn. We do have to do some war stuff. First of all, let's see what's happening in January. Weather-wise, roll a 6 for weather. 6 is snow. We're going back to snow again. So that really hampers everybody. That's going to slow things down drastically. It means you lose your half movement, and your supply lines only advance by 1. That's going to really hamper the offensive on a lot of cases for everything. So now we have to roll into, it's December. We got to do war weariness, what I think happens in December. Let's check that again. Where's war weariness? Let me see back here. Yeah. Yep. Starting each March, June, September, December. Alright, so this is December turn. End phase. Let's just see what happens here. Alright. We got Germany hasn't lost any cities. They rolled 1, so no effect. 1. We got Austria-Hungary. They've lost 2 cities. 2 major cities. That's correct. Yes. Well, that's going to help Germany, because they were under some weariness. They're going to get some more supplies back. Alright, so they rolled a 6 plus 2 is 8. Reduced by 10%. So they already had, they're at 5. Yeah, 5. So they're going to lose 1 point basically. So they're going to drop to 4. Alright, so no Ottomans, no Bulgarians, no France, Italy. Rolls a 7, no effect because they don't have anything affecting them. There's this up. And Britain, we got no submarine. The United States is in the war, so they have a -1. And they roll a 1. That's a 0, so no effect. Russia rolls a 1, so that's going to be no effect. And Romania. No, wait a minute. Romania just came into the war. Then let's see. They've been in a war for 6 months. No, August. So they don't have to worry about it until August, I think, of next year. All right. Or September, I guess, would be when they have to do theirs. So that is it. I think we got everybody. All right, so it's just Austria that has some problems at the moment. So they're down to 4 resupply points. All right, we'll be back.